Tools you will need. I used a Bosch Bulldog Extreme roto hammer. I used a 1/2-inch drill. You note on my drill I did place a line level that was broken on the top. The reason that is on there is if I want to drill horizontally, I'll be able to drill level by watching the level. That way I can have a level break in my rock.
Because of Bosch's vibration dampening, the level bubble remains intact.
You will need a hammer and you'll need feathers and wedges. My feathers and wedges have been well used, so you have to be careful of how you put those in your drilled holes. Notice that the down end is fatter than the top end. This is important to know because a lot of times these feathers get bent straight. They should look more like this when they're new. These are 1/2-inch wedges which will go in the 1/2-inch hole, and this is a wedge and it's well used, and the wedge goes in like that. So when I put it in the hole, I hold it like that and clamp the two ends together here and put it in the hole. I use two hands to do that. I can't do it while I'm videoing this. But another thing I use is a pencil, carpenter's pencil, and a ruler, and a little square. The reason I do that, it's mainly used for the straight edge because I want to make my drill holes on the rock in a straight line. Here's my box of beat up feathers and wedges. They still work, but you just have to be careful how you put them in. Another good tool to have is a retrieval tool in case you lose a feather down in a hole. You can take this, put it down in the hole, and retrieve your feather. Works very well. And this is the 1/2-inch drill. It is a 12-inch drill. And I always cool my drill after each hole is drilled. If you don't cool your drill, you will go through a lot more drills, and those are sometimes $20 or more a piece. Another thing I use is a pail of water to put my drills in after each hole. It only needs a minute or two to cool the drill. This will save your drills from the tips breaking off. Once the carbide tip is gone, your drill is shot. Another piece of equipment you should have, if you have any distance from an outlet, to use a heavy extension cord. It should be 14 gauge or larger, like a 12 gauge to 14 gauge. A 14 gauge is probably good enough. The reason you want to use a heavy type extension cord is so you don't burn your motor out. So that's the tools we use. Bosch Bulldog Extreme SDS Plus. So that's it for the tools. Remember to wear safety glasses and hearing protection when you're using this equipment. All right, the task today is to break this rock. It's too heavy for me to lift by myself, especially after I strain my hamstring, so I'm going to have to break this in half. What I want to do is make it in usable chunks to complete part of my lower wall. So I want an 8-inch piece hacked off of that, and to do that we're going to feather and wedge this stone. Tools that are necessary is a straight edge, a pencil, and a ruler, so I can get about an equal amount all the way around the stone to break off. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is measure, let's make it about 8 inches. And when you look at your stone, you got to look to see how it will break, and it's slanted this way. So I'm going to want to drill it that way also. So I make my mark at 8 inches here, and 8 inches here, and 8 inches here. Then I take my square and line up my marks and draw a line. I found that if you do your breaks in a straight line, that you have better results in breaking the rock. Okay? Let me get my hearing protection on. Also make sure you have some type of safety glass or goggles on. Try to drill it now, following about the same. I make my marks, and you want to make them maybe 3, 4, 5 inches apart. Sometimes you gotta Okay, when you go through, sometimes your blade will get stuck on the bottom there, so you got to watch that. After each hole, I like to cool my drill. So I put it in a bucket of water and just let it set for a few minutes. The reason I use the bucket of water is to preserve my bit, because if it gets too hot, and it does get very hot, your drill won't last very long. Okay, time for another cool down. Okay, the holes are drilled. I just clear off the sawdust here. Huh. Now that I have the hole drilled, it's time to insert my feathers and wedges. I've drilled 1/2 inch holes and I have 1/2 inch wedges here. And feathers. So when you insert your feathers, you got to be careful that it doesn't drop in the hole, but if it does, I use a special retrieval magnet to reach down and pull the feather out. Fortunately, this hole goes all the way through, so if I lose a wedge, it's going to drop to the ground. Okay, when you insert your feather and wedge, you want to make sure you get that line right in the middle of your wedge here, and just lightly tap it in just to hold it. Try to drive it in straight. Okay. And you continue to do that with all your holes.
These are relatively new feathers here, but sometimes they get straightened.
And it's important to note that the top is thinner here than it is here. So if it gets straightened, make sure you get the thicker part on the bottom. To prevent this part from falling on my toes, I had to move this rock ahead, and I used my special bar here to do that. So when this piece breaks off, it's not going to drop on my toes. Okay, we're ready to start breaking that. Now the type of rock that this is basalt, and they're very hard to break. The problem being that as this rock cooled, the outer part is more fragile than the inner part. So the outer part usually breaks off. It looks like on this rock, however, the outer part has already broken off. So hopefully this will split along my line. So we'll see. So you just start tapping along your line. See, this part here is a little soft. So I'm going to see how it flakes off there a little. As you break it, you'll hear the sound when it starts to crack. And I like to take my hearing protection off so I can hear it start to crack. You can tell by the sound when you hit how it's starting to break. Sometimes you just let it rest a while to catch up with the tension. And I can see a few cracks already starting to appear. See, now this is cracking right here. I can see the crack going down. So that's good. Here she's cracking. Hear it? I can see the crack line. She's cracking. And it's cracked. See, here's where it didn't go through too well. But she's broke. Okay, that's the break. So it broke fairly even, like I had hoped. So I just need to take these extra feathers out and wedges.
And we're done.